There is something intrinsically interesting about any piece of fiction regarding organized crime. My mind instantly goes to Goodfellas, my favorite Scorsese film. Anything about the mafia is just absolutely laced in drama and character. And despite these works focused on some less than savory individuals, the audience has a tendency to root for these characters. And then these type of shows also bring with it a certain historical interest. Specifically, the various time periods can be just as important as the characters themselves. I know anything set in the 1930s instantly piques my interest, and that's one of the reasons why The Untouchables remains one of my favorite films. Prohibition-era stories are endlessly fascinating. So when I heard of Baccano, an anime that decided to tackle a mob story within the setting, I was instantly interested. Another light novel adaptation, Baccano features a large cast of characters with the story largely focused in on Prohibition-era United States, albeit with a supernatural twist. The 16-episode run is an absolute treat for any fan of anime, but what makes it so good? I'm Bananaowns, and it's an Otaku Youth Anime Review. Baccano tells the tale of an action-packed train ride aboard the renowned Flying Pussyfoot, or at least that's where majority of the plot is focused. The story of Baccano actually jumps around quite a bit, ranging from a few years in the past to a few hundred years in the past. However, the story always seems to return to the ill-fated train ride, and these story jumps serve largely as a means of providing backstory to the large cast of characters. In a structural sense, this can cause the overall plot to be relatively confusing early on, as the time periods can jump dramatically. One scene might take place directly after the train ride, while another might take place directly before. I did not really grasp the larger implications of the plot until about 7 or so episodes in, and given the significant amount of ongoing plot points, it could be difficult to keep track of the story in each one of these situations. And this initial confusion can be very off-putting. It almost made me drop the show. However, those that decide to keep watching Baccano will be immensely rewarded. The plot could be described as similar to that of a puzzle. Initially, the viewer is just presented with a bunch of pieces, but as the series progresses and more information is given to the viewer, the pieces do fall into place. As for the content of the plot, it focuses on a variety of crime families and outside factions as they compete for turf and settle scores, often with Tommy guns. And the most interesting aspect involves how these various factions deal with certain people with supernatural abilities. And these supernatural abilities serve as the overarching connector between the various plot threads. In the end, Baccano sets up an interesting mafia story with the added element of the supernatural. The first 13 episodes are an amazing run. The many twists and turns of the plot make these episodes very captivating, and my problem largely lies with the last 3 episodes. These serve as an epilogue of sorts, tying up the few plot threads after the end of episode 13. These episodes aren't really that interesting. The situation with the Flying Pussyfoot is largely resolved by this point, and a majority of the large cast is left sitting around, playing dominoes. I'm not joking about that last part. This might be due to the fact that the last 3 episodes were released as OVAs on the DVD releases of the series. These 3 episodes lack the charm of the first 13, although the final episode does end the series very well. And it's not to say that these episodes are bad. No, they're still pretty good for anime standards. It's just after the first 13 or so episodes being so amazing, these 3 kind of feel weak in comparison. Overall though, the entire 16 episode run is well worth watching for the plot. I have absolutely no idea how to begin to describe the cast of Baccano, other than the fact that, well, it's enormous. There's Isaac and Miria, the lighthearted couple who are also thieves, and these two receive quite a lot of screen time and could be perceived as annoying by some given the subject matter of the later episodes. However, these two are very endearing. By the end of the series, it's impossible to not love their idiotic optimism. There is also Jacuzzi and Nisei's gang of thieves as well. Jacuzzi is a crybaby with a heart of gold but will not hesitate to come to action. Nisei is an explosive expert and Jacuzzi's girlfriend. The story also sees an introduction of the cult of Huey Laforet, with the major character being Shanae Laforet, his daughter. Shanae possesses an intense loyalty to Huey to the point where she gave up her voice to protect his secrets. There are also quite a large amount of characters who belong to the various mob families. The Russo family contains the psychotic Lad Russo, a hitman who possesses an intense love for violence. My favorite character is Firo. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his last name, but he's a member of the Martillo family. Firo is an insanely likable character. He possesses an innate charm and innocence, but it's not above kicking some ass. This is just a fraction of the characters of Baccano. There are just so many characters that I could probably fill an entire review just going over the characters. This is also a problem, at least early on. Baccano suffers from a problem that is also present in Fate Zero. The amount of characters makes it extremely confusing to follow the plot, especially when you consider the variety of time periods present in the show. It took quite a few episodes before I began to have an understanding of which character was from which family, organization, and even time period. And this could be a potential problem for earlier viewers as well. With how much time it takes to get everything straight, people who are not initially impressed by the first couple of episodes could drop the series. However, much like with the plot, those that stick with the series will be adequately rewarded. The plethora of characters would be more of a problem if they were uninteresting, but that's not the case. Every one of the characters is interesting in their own way, and each one significantly alters the plot. And this show has one of the best ensemble casts of any anime that I've watched. The animation of Baccano is one of the weaker aspects of the show. The animation quality is fairly average overall, and certain scenes showcase a diminished animation quality, but it's not bad enough to alter my overall enjoyment of the show. The animation of the action scenes, well, it's actually pretty good. The characters possess a fluid movement, and the scenes are choreographed excellently as well. The characters are also animated well in dialogue, at least in the close-up. In the close-up shots, you actually get to see the large variety of expressions that these characters possess. And these character expressions are a highlight of the animation. What this series really excels in is in the set design and the character design. The 1930s design is gorgeous. Prohibition era New York looks drab and dark, and my favorite set piece is the flying pussyfoot. Between the variety of cars and the overall look of the train, the scenes on the flying pussyfoot are some of the better scenes of Baccano. Each one of the characters possesses an absolutely great design, my personal favorites being Miria and Isaac with their large wardrobe. Besides this, I don't really have much more to say about the animation quality. It's mediocre, but the design aesthetic is great. The sound design of Baccano is handled very well, with the highlight being the jazz music and the amazing voice acting. The voice actor for each character does a tremendous job of bringing their respective character to life. For an ensemble cast, there really is only one weak link among the actors. The voice actor for the Senator is not up to the same level of quality as the rest of the cast. His performance is just bland and uninteresting. It almost sounds like the voice actor was falling asleep as he recorded his lines. In terms of sound effects, everything sounds like it should. Now, where the sound design really shines is in the music. In regards to the music, it's just phenomenal. The jazz pieces employed by the show perfectly encapsulate the Prohibition era setting. And that soundtrack really does add an extra level of depth to Baccano. The intro song alone is amazing, and it's the perfect way to get you in the mood for watching, well, a Mafia-era story in the 1930s. Overall, the voice acting and the music is phenomenal. Baccano is a great anime that covers a subject matter that I love. However, it's not perfect, and that's due to the large cast of characters and an attempt to adequately cover them all. This leads to the issue of the rather confusing and fragmented story early on in the series. It takes quite a long time to have an adequate handling of the various settings in the large cast of characters. Despite this large cast, every character is fleshed out very well and is ultimately interesting. The show possesses another flaw concerning the rather mediocre animation quality, but this is offset by the excellent background and character design. The sound presents, well, a great selection of jazz music and an overall great voice cast. Baccano really is an entertaining watch and is a rare gateway anime. It is a perfect series for those who are unfamiliar with anime in general. Baccano earns my Bananaowns stamp of approval. Join me again next week for another Otaku Youth anime review.